Howdy, folks. I'm a penguin named Fred,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. As you can see, we have quite the story in store for you today. Our first letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Not Taking in My Sister's Daughter, My Biological Daughter? Long story short, in 2010, I got pregnant in my third year of university. I was going to get it terminated because I just didn't want to be a mother at the time. I have borderline personality disorder and just never had that maternal bond. My mom told me my oldest sister and her husband have been trying for 6 years to conceive, so she convinced me to allow her to adopt the baby. So in 2011, I gave birth and my sister and brother-in-law adopted the baby. Seems like a win-win so far, right? I brought her gifts, and during holidays, I see her about twice a year. I don't see her as my daughter. I never have, and I never will. So, which brings me to last year. I won't go into details, but my sister and her husband got into some financial issues. After too many bad decisions, they are both in prison. That is, there's some. You don't generally go to prison for bad financial decisions unless you're like insider trading. Did they crime? It sounds like they crimed. My sister won't be out until 2025. Yeah, your sister crimed hard. My niece is currently staying with my mom, and there is no issue that would preclude her from continuing to stay there. But my niece has expressed that she wants to come and live with me. I live 12 hours away. I work long hours, travel lots, and I just don't have the time for a child. My family thinks that I'm being selfish because this is my biological daughter. I'm angry that I'm put into this situation. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't look good on me. I've offered to fly her down every few months during breaks for a visit, but that just isn't enough. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
OP went into this being like, yeah, I'm going to make a really bad parent. I don't have maternal bonds. I have borderline personality disorder. The thing is this, the mom convinced her to let the sister adopt the child out, right? And this shouldn't be any different than any other adoption type situation. So if OP had, allowed their child to be adopted out to another family, then their biological daughter would not have that opportunity to come and know her and basically stay with her, right? So I think in this particular case, it's very unreasonable for the mother to assume, because the mother's the one who convinced OP to give their daughter up for adoption to their sister. I think it's only fair that the mom take responsibility for the daughter here. That's my opinion. So let me know what you folks think. I think this one's tough. I think this is a hard situation, and OP is kind of backed into a corner. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, you're not in a position or desire to take in and look after an 11-year-old. The bio connection, either niece or bio daughter, is irrelevant. Please don't ever share that you planned on terminating her, though it'll mess her up badly. And OP says, I would never tell her that. We told her that I wasn't ready to be a mom and that her parents, my sister and brother-in-law, were. And I think that's a really good and honest way of handling the situation too. So just want to add that maybe you can have an age-appropriate discussion with her where you try to explain that you can't take care of her properly and fill her needs at the moment. Try to let her know that you still love her and want her to be taken care of, but that you are not in a position to do that. She's young, but can still understand this and won't feel abandoned by another adult figure in her life. All right. This story, folks. Am I a jerk for naming my child behind my wife's back? Oh no. Oh no. So my wife and I, a 27-year-old female and a 29-year-old male, recently had a baby, a sweet baby girl. An absolute ball of joy. We started discussing names a few months before she was born, but we kept getting into arguments because we just couldn't come to an agreement. I'm a traditional man. I like traditional names with a rich history and profound meaning. My wife, on the other hand, wants to name our child something unique, something that literally no one else on earth will think of. Some of her suggestions include Ho-Hi, Shou-Ji, Ya-Ba, Bazu. Anyone can see that these names are absolutely ridiculous, and she will probably never land a respectable job. By the way, we're both Caucasian, so this isn't a cultural name or anything. I suggested some names like Amelia or Ella or Sophia, but she said those names were way too common. We put off the name topic for a while, but naturally, after she was born, we started talking about names again. Way to kick that one down the road. We don't want to deal with this problem. Let's not deal with this until we have to. That's called the ostrich method. She insisted on the name Booza, but I absolutely refused. I told her no one will take her seriously with a name like that, and that she will be just pursuing the novelty of a unique name without thinking of what actually works for her. I saw that she was completely set on the name that she chose, and there was no way I could convince her otherwise. So the next morning, I went by myself to register our daughter's name because I was worried my wife would go and do it first. I chose a really pretty name for her that wasn't too old-fashioned and I thought my wife would be okay with. I know my wife has her heart dead set on this particular name, but she'll be okay with this other one. But when I got home and told her about it, she was furious with me. She said that I was a jerk, but I think that she'd be a bigger jerk for giving our daughter a name that could ruin her life. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
They both kind of suck, Dopey more so.
I think everyone is. There's lots of bad times to go around for everyone. I just feel bad for the poor daughter in this situation. The thing is that OP was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and name her. Go get her name official before my wife does this." Like, that just kind of shows their relationship dynamic right there. That he feels like he has to go ahead and do this first, otherwise he feels like she'll do this first, right? So it kind of shows an overall lack of cooperation. I don't think that this relationship is going to be salvageable. It does not sound like they're a partnership. It sounds like they're competitors and that they have no interest in taking into account the other competitor's interest. And so that's the only thing I can figure here, is that he handled this like a competition. It sounds like she's handling this with a competition. It doesn't sound like they are willing to compromise at all, but unless they like actually start talking seriously and actually handling problems when they come up instead of kicking them down the road, I don't think that there's much hope here. So that's kind of my feeling here. I think that they're both jerks, and I think that they're not cooperating like a partnership. They're cooperating like individuals with individual interests. Everyone's bad here, but your wife is 100% going to go with Booza and simply not going to back down no matter what you said. I think you made the right decision. Honestly, if the wife was dead set on Booza and there was no way to be reasoned with about the name that is objectively bad, especially when it has no cultural meaning or anything, it will cause that kid trouble, then it's not the jerk for me. He is a father and he owed his kid to protect it. It's just one step to do so. That's not how naming a baby works. Yeah, temporary badger said it right. All right, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for refusing to wake up my husband and son every day?" My husband is a 41-year-old male, and my son is a 16-year-old male, and I'm a 42-year-old female. Well, OP, you're the oldest of all of them, so it's your responsibility. You're the real adult here. And we have our own bedrooms on separate floors of the house. Husband and son decided to buy Bluetooth devices that have a chime/natural sunrise alarm function. Unfortunately, the chime and light don't wake them up. I get up at 6 and I have to leave the house by 7 after I shower, feed the pets, put the dinner in the crock pot, etc. Am I the jerk for insisting that the men of the house take responsibility for waking themselves up? They've been late to school/work several times in the last month and get annoyed because I left without making sure they were up and moving. I suggested that they go to bed earlier, find a better alarm, blah, 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 but neither one has changed anything. Edit, thanks to the suggestions and support, I've ordered an air horn. Yes, really, and it's nice to know that I'm not the jerk. We'll continue to work with the son. It's not too late for him. Oh, OP. Why are you responsible for waking your husband up? Like, if the thing is this, he's a 41-year-old male. He knows what works for him. He knows what doesn't work for him. And blaming you for him not being awake is absurd. Now, if he wakes up at the same time as you and, you two are trying to help each other and get up and get ready for the day, it would be a good courtesy to, like, get him up at the same time as you, right? But it's either he gets up at the same time as you or he doesn't, right? He cannot have this whole making sure that you get him up and get him out of the bed. A nice cold bucket of water. Not that I'm suggesting this. This is Brian's bad advice. Please do not throw a bucket of water on your partner. Would make sure to get him up. That would be rude and uncalled for. And for comedy purposes only, right? So, no, OP, I don't think you're a jerk in this situation. It sounds like your husband really needs to take responsibility for himself and potentially have your husband take responsibility for your 16-year-old son who also is having trouble getting up. Like, he should be able to make sure, like, your son at least has an excuse. He's still a kid, right? Your husband does not have an excuse. He is not a kid. He does not need mommy to come and wake him up. Maybe you should start calling his mom and telling him that his husband is having trouble.
I also like how Opie's doing like all the chores, like feeding the pets,
it's like
dinner,
doing everything. Opie's like, I'm gonna do all these chores and all that stuff, and it's still like not enough. No, OP, you're not the jerk. Not the jerk. They're welcome to use the natural sunrise alarm. The natural mommy alarm is unavailable. Don't engage, just do it. Just do it, OP. Just do it. I use a natural sunlight alarm. Sometimes it doesn't wake me up. That's when the loud 3 backup alarms go off on my phone. They're delayed by like 10 minutes after the sunlight alarm should wake me up. Because when you're an adult, you can't be late and you don't have backup options. Yeah, exactly. Use an alarm that will wake you up. Is that so hard? All right, folks, it's time for tea time.
Except it's not tea time.
It's water time for Amber. Before the pitchforks and torches come out for demanding that I go make Amber some more tea, it's morning. It's the morning time. So I am not drinking tea either. Guess what beverage I'm drinking, and I will read you a very silly joke. Who has antlers, white gloves, and loves Minnie? Mickey Mouse? I mean, I'm sure someone thought that. Oh my goodness. This is not even I can imagine someone sitting around like, we gotta come up with more jokes. We need the silliest jokes that we can. Can we pump more? Can we pump more silly jokes out? I'm drinking coffee. Mickey Mouse. Oh, book. You're ridiculous. Alright, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Giving Up My Room to My Parents' New Baby and Saying Bad Things to Them? My parents, a 45-year-old female and a 50-year-old male, love the phrase, work to live, not live to work. The phrase is pretty cool, but it's not cool to be the sons of parents like that. They work as freelancer most of their time and spend more than they should. Me, a 19-year-old female, and my brother Thomas, a 14-year-old male, live in several bad situations because of this. It sounds like they are spending more than they should is the key problem here. It's all right to, work in lower wage jobs if you enjoy the work more, as long as you can afford that lifestyle. You have to be willing to make sacrifices in order to live in a lifestyle like that, right? And you should not be doing it to the detriment of your children either. Like, there's a time and place to have fun jobs. And if you have a family to support, then you kind of have decided that you're wanting to put those family members ahead of your own interests. So just to put my point of view on the line right here. We've been living on rent forever because my parents can't pay a mortgage and don't keep any money. Since last year, I have contributed to all of the household bills. all are shared between my father, mother, and me equally. We currently live in a 3-bedroom apartment. Naturally, my parents sleep together in one room. My brother and I have our own single rooms. Well, my mother got pregnant at 45, and no one is excited about the news. My dad doesn't want a crib in their room, so he suggested that I move out of my room and sleep in the same room as Thomas. My room would be good for a newborn. I disagreed because 1, I don't feel comfortable sharing a room with a sibling of the opposite sex. And 2, I pay the bills like any other adult. And 3, the baby is theirs. OP makes some really good points here. Really good points, OP. My parents called me selfish. Oh, OP is so selfish, paying rent and utilities and food. So selfish, OP. How can you be so selfish to pay for a third of the expenses in the household, OP? Here's where I might be the jerk. I said I wouldn't share a room with my brother so my parents could have adult fun time away from the baby, and that I just would not leave the house because I knew Thomas and the baby would go hungry. Since then, my mother has been sleeping at a friend's house so she doesn't have to see me, and my father doesn't talk to me. Truth hurts. Ooh, the truth hurts for those poor parents who need to learn how to grow up. Thomas said that I was a jerk. You know, OP, here's the thing. Like, I agree that maybe you were a little harsh on them, but I think that it needed to be said. Like, they do not want to take responsibility for their own child, and that's really what this boils down to. They need to have that crib in their room. You do not need to give up your room as a rent-paying individual. If they don't like the situation, then maybe Thomas can move into their bedroom, right? It's Thomas or the baby, right? And then maybe Thomas will stop calling you such a jerk at that point in time because he'll be like, oh yeah, maybe I don't want to sleep in my parents' room. So OP, I don't think you're. I think you handled this I think you called them out. I don't think you said anything that was terribly bad, maybe except for that Thomas and the baby would go hungry. Maybe that hurt their egos a little bit. But honestly, you're paying for a third of the food, and it sounds like you're also paying for a third of the rent. So moving out might be really detrimental to them and cause them more financial strain and financial ruin, right? And so that's not your responsibility. You're doing this out of the kindness of your heart. You do not have to be doing this. You've shown that you are an adult and you can pay bills and you can move into your own apartment if they don't like it. So I don't think you're being selfish here. I think you are being reasonable. I mean, let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, you are splitting bills 3 ways. Maybe you could find some roommates or a studio apartment of your own. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be paying a third to live there if I didn't have to. And it should probably be a fourth to begin with and not a third since OP's brother is their responsibility. Yeah, soon to be a fifth, right? Definitely move out, OP, and if you're worried about Thomas eating, invite him for meals and make sure that he knows your home is open. I don't know where you're located, but if a studio apartment is pretty affordable in some smaller towns. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. That's right, it's over. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving me a like. And if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.